Hey guys, so Lake of Kalandra has been announced, and I think this is one of the biggest expansions, biggest league, because, well, at least personally, I have not been this hyped since probably when we revealed adding 5 new acts. So there are a lot of changes, a lot of quality of life improvements. Of course, the league itself is gonna add some power creep, but mostly for rings and amulets. Some rings and amulets will gain just insane amount of power, but it's gonna be like gamble sort of thing. And the league kind of reminds me of Synthesis, almost like create your own layouts, your own like difficulty. And like I personally don't really care too much about how we're gonna be destroying enemies. It's just a different way of destroying enemies and a different way of getting more rewards. So that's not the most exciting part for me. Then we're getting endgame improvements and in a form of like replayable memory events, which actually sounds really cool. It's sort of like a lore but interesting, adding like lore but interesting, because you're gonna be able to experience those events yourself. And it's also gonna give you like free maps. You're gonna open a certain memory which gonna lead towards our couple maps, and those couple maps gonna be provided by the NPC, and you're not gonna need to pay for them. So it's like free maps. Good for progression. Although I think I remember hearing that we're gonna be pretty rare, so you're probably gonna want to save them and do them yourself. So yeah, we're getting over 100 unique item buffs, nerfs. Some nerfs are like really weird. Some like leveling items losing flat life, some like percentage life region. It's kind of weird. Like a lot of items are numerically changed, so it's like nothing too exciting. Some items are just losing life and pretty much just getting damage. Some items getting some interesting things like skeleton boots. You're gonna be able to have permanent skeletons. And at first I was like really excited. Okay, it sounds cool, skeleton, permanent skeleton armor, but skeletons are typically very squishy. You're still gonna need to resummon them, so I'm not sure if that's good or not. But there are lots of interesting changes. We're also getting, I believe, 14 new unique items, and Trial Master is returning, and Ultimate items are returning. The main thing from Ultimate unique items is the wand that gave Blood Sacrament skill. It's getting like a buff, but you're not gonna be able to spam it as much. So essentially, yay, it's returning. So many people wanted a return of that because you can now combine with the Squire and make even more OP builds. Obviously, Squire is going to be expensive. There are also 3 new skill gems and 1 support. I feel like most people got slightly disappointed because it's not like too over the top, flash and interesting. But in my opinion, those are really interesting, except the mark skill. The mark skill is like just whatever, don't care. You place the mark, you hit enemies, you create like a sort of like a Dijon ground based on fire or poison. Not too interesting for me. The support gem, I haven't really looked very into much details about them, but my first thought when I saw the new skill gems was Herald of Thunder, because one is a buff which then is gonna create like a globe which gonna zap enemies inside it, something like that. And Herald of Thunder, like it's gonna synergize very well with all the shocks essentially. And Herald of Thunder works well with shocks, and Herald of Thunder alone usually has some issues if there are too many monsters. Well, it depends. It kind of depends if you have explosions or not, but I think it is gonna synergize so well with the Herald of Thunder. Although, probably you shouldn't play Herald of Thunder as your first build, because lots of items are changing and unique item drops are being decreased. So you're gonna see fewer unique drops, but those uniques are getting buffed because, like I mentioned, got updated, got buffed, and we basically are more powerful in most cases. Next, we are getting 3 revamped leagues: Revamped Archnemesis, Revamped Beyond, and Harvest. Those are kind of what we've been asking for, basically. Revamped Archnemesis, basically, overall, globally, there are gonna be fewer rare monsters spawning because everyone probably can agree that there are too many rare monsters, except I guess Headhunter players. They're probably gonna dislike that. But the game cannot be balanced around Headhunter, right? So there are gonna be fewer rare monsters, so you're not gonna be like overwhelmed by a mass amount of rare monsters with all sorts of crazy things. But those raids are gonna be harder, but they're gonna be a lot more rewarding because Archnemesis, like a reward system from Archnemesis, is being put back into the core game. Because previously when the Archnemesis ended and the next league we added the Archnemesis, it didn't really add the rewards back, it just kind of made monsters harder and the difficulty versus reward didn't feel like it was matching. But now, let's say Innocence Touch monsters are gonna be able to, well, gonna convert all the drops into maps. So if monster is Innocence Touched, it's gonna drop only maps pretty much, as far as I understand. If it's like Corruptor, it's gonna drop corrupted items. So it basically adds those Archnemesis rewards back into the game. But it's like simplified. You don't need to think about it. You just see the monsters. Well, you're still gonna kill the monsters, and you're just gonna get more loot. You're gonna have to be more careful with those rare monsters because we're gonna be a lot tougher, as I understand. Maybe not necessarily a lot like harder to survive against, although who knows, maybe. Then there was something mentioned about rarity affecting the currency. Like rarity would boost the drop rates of exalts and I guess divine orbs. Talking about that, as I understand, exalts are now useless. Exalts are useless and divines are new exalts. We're changing the benchcraft recipe, the meta mods, from costing multiple exalts into costing divines. But you cannot get the divines from vendor recipe anymore. Selling 6-link item is now gonna grant you 20 fusing orbs instead of a divine. And divines are gonna be much more, well, not much more rare, but a bit more rare than exalts in terms of drops. So now I'm curious, what is the point of exalts? Just to slam an item? Because you cannot use bench crafts, so the only thing to use it is just to slam on the item? Maybe I'm missing something, but how else do you use exalts for crafting items? Right, next, Revamped Beyond, and I'm surprised that this took so long. And old, well, not really old, but the previous Scourge League is basically a new Beyond. Instead of spawning Beyond, which is basically just a red color bandits, as we said, it's gonna be using the Scourge system. So the Scourge also brought tainted currency, which allow you to modify corrupted items and very easily get a 6-link. 6-links are gonna be easy, but then unique items, you're not gonna be able to just divine them as you please because divines are gonna be expensive. Think like 100 chaos plus probably. So you're not really gonna want to divine like not non-top tier uniques. So it's very interesting to see how our economy is gonna shape. But one thing for sure, well-rolled unique items are gonna be a lot more expensive and a lot more in demand, I guess. Unfortunately, no trading improvements. There was something mentioned about trading website. Oh yeah, you're gonna have to be logged in to be able to use a trading website. Yay, great. And then Revamped Harvest. Rejoice, you can trade Harvest finally. You don't even need to craft your items immediately. You kill the Harvest monsters, you pick up, what's it called? You pick up the thing from the ground, that's it, go. Continue going, continue killing. And the Harvest monsters rewards are gonna be boosted by the map quantity and pack size, monster pack size. So like instead of getting, let's say 15 of the wild seeds or something like that, you're gonna get like 20, for example. So that's also nice. You're not gonna need to waste your time trying to figure out what to craft, and you just can craft it later whenever you want and trade those crafts later. There's quite a lot of balance changes. The spell suppression is getting nerfed on items but buffed on passive skill trees. Then a bunch of stuff for minion things. Basically, we wanted to make minion itemization more depending on items and not just the gem level. The best way to scale minion damage is just to boost minion level, that's it. And then all the conditional things like Brittle Ground, which is also gonna get nerfed. But now they are basically removing the power from the minion levels and adding the power back into items that boost like minion damage or minion life or minion resistances, stuff like that. Minion critical strike chance, that's also changing quite a bit because the way minion charges now work is going to be the same as for players. It's not going to be the same as for monsters, which was a bit unintuitive for newer players. So the power charges not going to grant minions like crazy amount of critical strike chance, but to compensate that, we are adding some support for minion crits on passive skill trees and some other things. I don't know how to react to that. I need to plan builds and see how it works, but in some cases it may be better. I guess we'll see. Overall, I am pretty excited for minion changes because what about those minions that don't benefit from minion levels like Arakalis spiders or the spectral wolves? There was also mentioned that spectral wolves now attack faster, but it was also mentioned somewhere in the Q&A that they just fixed their attack thing. Like they used to stop attacking. I don't know, maybe there was some kind of weird delay for attacks, but I guess we're gonna work better now. Next, there's also Trickster rework, and Trickster rework looks very interesting for one node, at least for me. There is one node that basically works like Calm's root boots or like a Juggernaut. You basically become immune to chill, freeze, temporal chain, which allows you to use like things like Soul Eater with the self-ghost temporal chain or self-freeze build. Like it sets your minimum action speed to 108% and nearby enemies maximum action speed to 92%. I'm not entirely sure if that's correct, but it seems at first I thought that if you use like Tailwind, you just add the amount of Tailwind action speed that it gives on top of the minimum, but actually when you look at the exposure thing, like the minimum exposure and the elementalist exposure, they don't stack that way. So I think that this may also not stack, like you're not gonna be able to very easily get full benefits of Tailwind with the Trickster. So I'm not sure about that. But Trickster is looking interesting, although I'm a bit like, I don't know, disappointed. It's hard to tell. And this is like the first day. I'm actually only had like 5 hours of sleep because I was a bit too excited and I couldn't fall asleep. So I need to spend more time and try to plan builds and figure things out to be able to tell if Trickster is good. But yeah, Trickster is looking better than before, definitely. But is it actually good enough? I don't know. We'll see, I guess. One more thing is PoE Wiki is finally official. They did announce, I believe it was yesterday, that GG is now hosting the PoE Wiki and it is official. And it is this wiki, PoEWiki.net, not the other thing. So spread words, PoE Wiki is now official, but only this one. So, and this one is gonna be the most up to date. So stop using any other wikis if you are, because we're gonna be outdated or misleading, and this is gonna be hopefully gonna be the most up to date thing. So PoEWiki.net, and obviously we are getting new supporter packs, which does have some interest. They do have some interesting things. Although I'm kind of a bit disappointed that the feta euros, feta dollar packs don't really add like any weapon skins or armor skins, just like special things like stash tabs or like a pet that kind of looks like it's looting your items, but it's not. So yeah. So in the next couple of days I'm gonna be beginning to plan new builds, and it's gonna take some time to figure out like what I even want to play. There are so many things that I want to try now with all the unique changes. I'm gonna have to use like 5 to 10 uniques per build to be able to test all the uniques, although some uniques are like really disappointing. But then again, let's not forget that uniques are not supposed to be your endgame items. Rares and crafted rares especially are supposed to be better than uniques, and uniques are supposed to be like a stepping stone or a build enabling thing. So I'm not too disappointed that some uniques are not like crazy, but yeah, I mean some of them could have gotten some better changes. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm gonna be starting to plan some builds, and I already started filling up this spreadsheet, which you can access online. I made this last week when I tried to figure out what skills I use the least and what builds I should play. So I'm gonna be using this, continuing using this and listing the builds that I play, and also making like build ideas here. So if you want to see some build ideas, I'm gonna post this link in the video description or somewhere, or maybe in the comments. Once I have like a more defined builds for the league start and for the near future, I'm gonna post a video about it. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.